And now it's a great pleasure to have three incredible and talented entrepreneurs with me to talk a little bit about the innovation around artificial intelligence and cybersecurity in Israel. Let me start with you, Erez. You are the CEO and the co-founder of QualiSense. And before you present, I want to ask you, we see that kind of like in the manufacturing industry, we still have so many defected parts. And apparently these defected parts led companies as large as Tesla now to recall their cars back from the manufacturing and have tremendous impact. I understand that the problem that you're facing, whether with technology and artificial intelligence, we can reduce this problem of defected parts and have actually a better quality assurance with technology.
First, thank you so much for having me. It's very hard to talk after you. You're so energetic, so I will try my best to do that. So the background is that I co-founded the company with two-tier experts, one in manufacturing and one in AI. And the issue that they were facing, I'm going to talk about it, is that something that the CEO of OpenAI for ChatGPT 3.5 said as an answer when they asked him what happened. What happened that he went to the roof? You had OpenAI before, right? He said this was the first time that we asked for feedback from the human beings using the system. And we took this feedback back to the system. So all of that was ready and nothing was working before the feedback. And this is what we found also in the quality assurance of inspection in production lines. And this is the company that we created. Yeah. AI doesn't work. That was my first meeting with the vice president of quality assurance at Johnson Electric. I said, what do you mean? AI works, everybody talks about it. He said, well, you know, I have 1 billion units that I manufacture in 20 different countries around the world. I have machine vision, computer vision in so many of them. I'm using AI, but this AI is being produced, the models by AI experts. They don't understand my product. I have very low first pass yield, I have very high false positive, and I have a lot of misses. I'm getting penalties, I'm getting thrown out of lines. This is crazy. So I asked him, so why don't you build it yourself? You know the product. So he said, well, it's funny, I'm not an AI expert, but you know what? I wish I could do that. So the problem with Israeli startups is that when you say to them, I wish, usually the answer is, your wish is my command. So basically, we build such a system. Everything is automated, level 5, meaning that everything is really automated. And this now is driven by only the quality managers, engineers. They are not AI experts. They put their own product in the cockpit. They define all of their needs and KPIs, and we automate all the cycle from the sorting of the data, from the labeling of the data, and we provide them a working, customized AI model to their needs. We are a seed company, but now after a year and a half, we are already in production lines of real production for OEM in the automotive. The projects here are for Tesla, BMW, Ford, General Motors, and many others. And we are working on very sophisticated and very challenged products that the AI that they used before couldn't do the work. I want to give you the example of a very chaotic environment. This magnet lines produces, within all the lines that are there, 5 million magnets a day that in a very chaotic environment. And this is for Tesla and BMW brakes system. This one, and I think it's good that you see the sound because this is the environment that the AI needs to work in, is for Ford automatic pump rotor. So under the hood, we created a fully automated cycle. We have 14 patents in AI engines and 18 more that we are publishing now, our own proprietary capabilities from sorting the data, from labeling the data, only with the feedback of a very small amount of data from the quality engineer. I have a very strong team, of course, very knowledgeable, experienced in the field, that have done hundreds of projects with some of the tier ones, biggest players in the world, and they are so good that I will take it off so nobody will have ideas whether you want to try to take them off. So we are only seed company, a year and a half into the works. We have a working product in production, and we are now going into round A. Pick me if you want to talk about it. Thank you.
Talia, I remember meeting you a few years back when I was still a venture capitalist, and you came kind of like with sparking eyes, and I still remember your first speech to me and saying, antidepressant drugs can really save lives and save so much misery around the world. But unfortunately, so often they are not well prescribed, and people get the wrong drug, and that's actually lead to life of misery. And you said, I believe that with artificial intelligence and utilizing data, I can solve this one of kind of like the most, I think, predominant problems of the humankind, how we can actually better utilize drugs to solve the misery of depression. Could you share with us a little bit about your journey and how you solve depression with AI?
You're going to see in my pitch more about that, but basically I started the company about 5 years ago. I'm a neuroscientist by training. I was nearby at Columbia University for a postdoc, and I had the biological background. But biology only has so much power, only has so much throughput. And when it comes to precision medicine, where you have to find thousands of people and the unique impacts of each person, then you need to bring AI to solve the problem. And that's how we married biology and AI to create solutions in mental health.
Could you share with us the story of your presentation?
Hello, thank you very much for this important event. 300 million people globally suffer from major depression. And every 80 seconds, one of these individuals takes their own lives. We urgently need to change these statistics. When treating a patient with depression, the physician has to choose from one of over 70 different medications. And each medication takes weeks to months to test in the patient's body. The patient loses months to years of their lives, or even their lives, searching for the right treatment. At Genetika Plus, we're taking this period of trial and error testing out of the patient and into the lab where it belongs. We've developed a simple blood test where you take patient blood samples, you turn them into brain cells. You're using stem cell technology. Not so simple, but you don't have to deal with that. And then we expose them to all the different antidepressants to see which antidepressant has the strongest impact on those cells. We combine it with genetics and patient history to get the full picture. As you'll see in the next slide, this creates millions of data points, and we use AI to integrate this information to provide a simple recommendation for the physician. We've developed this platform through partnerships and clinical trials with over 10 different centers across the world, mostly in the US and Israel. And we have created an immense amount of data and created immense automation processes and filtering processes through our AI team, which have allowed us to tackle a problem that's never been tackled and solved before. At the end of the day, when a doctor gets it right about 37%, exactly 37% of the time, according to clinical trials, when the doctor gets it right that percentage of the time in real life, we're getting it right more than twice that. With 79% accuracy, we can predict which drug the patient will respond to. At the end of the day, the physician just sees a nice PDF report showing them which antidepressant is going to be best for their patient, and a simple kit that you can do at a test center like Quest or LabCorp, or we even have at-home phlebotomists. We'll be partnering with physicians, but also employee health networks, telemedicine companies, and risk-based providers to try and bring this technology to the market. We've launched this product. We're launching this product this week. So we're looking for physician partners, we're looking for medical center partners, and patients who are looking to try something new to help with their depression. So we urge you here in the room to help make those connections if you have any. And we also have a product. If we can predict which drug is best for each patient, we can help pharmaceutical companies find out which drug is going to be best for which populations and bring precision medicine, personalized medicine, into the drug development pipeline. We already have a few fantastic partnerships underway and also looking to expand those. We've built an amazing team across Israel and now expanding into New Jersey. We have the chief of psychiatry from Harvard University, amongst others on our scientific advisory board, supporting this amazing technology. I urge you here to join Genetika Plus in our battle to fight depression head on. Thank you.
Wow, what an inspiration. Idan, you went a very interesting journey with illustria. Basically, all of us in the software industry understand that using open source is better than writing the codes ourselves. So we are borrowing more and more libraries of open source, assuming that reduces the cost, that's better time for the market, but we never think of open source as actually a security vulnerability. And it turns out that more and more companies actually experience now cyber incidents because of disrupted or kind of like corrupted open source. Could you tell us a little bit about the journey that you had with open source from something which seems to be like solving the problem of the software industry to a big actually threat?
Yeah. So thanks, first of all, being here. I'm Idan, I'm CEO and co-founder of illustria. I think open source is everywhere. Everybody uses it. Developers don't write the code from scratch because it's easier for them to run faster. Organization can run faster. But you know how it is. It's not a safe world anymore, and there are no free meals. And there are bad people, there are bad actors that try to manipulate and attack organization via that attack vector. So this is exactly what we want to prevent in illustria. Maybe I'll show some case how we found out. Yeah. As I said before, 90% of the code consists from open source. It's everywhere. It's like going to a Netflix when you try to download an open source libraries. And this is great because, as I said before, developers don't need to write the code from scratch. They can just go to Netflix, download a manifest, use it, and that's it. You have a working code. But the problem, there are bad actors out there that they can use it and attack organization. This is why we want to prevent in illustria. When developers are downloading a package of open source, okay, this is maybe a technical process, but I want to go deeper into the process itself. They download a package or a library, like you can see here. But they don't know there are other packages out there or dependencies. And they don't have really control about the process itself. So those developers are basically the goalkeeper for the process of managing the libraries, but they're not security experts. And this is the attack path we want to prevent here. So as I said before about those dependencies or libraries inside the libraries, you have a lot of dependencies, as you can see here. And the problems can be in that area, okay? And this is where it comes more interesting, the blind spots that we want to prevent. If I'm a developer and I'm trying to download a package of open source, for example, in NPM, in JavaScript, I'm installing a package, for example, called CNCJS. This is a popular library. You can see the enormous amount of packages added and the enormous amount on contributors, okay? Now, contributors basically are maintainers. They believe in open source. They do it on their spare time because they want to contribute to the industry, open source society. But again, they're not security experts. And I want to focus on that cases because those contributors, can do mistakes that eventually can lead to a zero-day attack that Nimrod talked before. This is Faisal, okay? He's a maintainer of a package. He has a very nice name. He's a real guy, okay? It's a real case that happened. He wants to help and contribute to the open source environment. This is the package that he's maintaining. You can see it's a public library, very popular. Only 10 years for maintaining this package. And highly popular library with 10 million weekly downloads, which is crazy. Every organization is probably using this library. Now, we talked before what would be the blind spots on the problem. On the 5th of October 2021, someone from Russian Underground just posted that he's selling Faisal credentials. Why? Because he didn't have the two-factor authentication, which is a basic thing in cybersecurity. I think everybody here in the room has their phone connected to the password to prevent that case. And this happened on 5 minutes or 6 minutes. A couple of weeks later, Faisal realized there is a problem. But it's already too late, because if I'm hijacking his account, I can just insert virus, exe file, whatever, it's going to be too late. Okay, this is one case. It's happening every day, those cases. And eventually, we need to see and think about when we download an open source libraries. What we do in illustria is basically behavior analysis or maintain analysis for packages of open source. First of all, we need to understand let's say, the behavior of an open source library. Who is Faisal, where he locates in the city, how many commits were done to the code, and then we go deep into the code itself to find anomalies or misconfiguration. So we can call it behavior analysis for open source, or
We can call it also open source intelligence, but this is what we do in a nutshell. Eventually, our mission or the goal is to change how developers are using open source and to find the blind spots. We just closed our seed round. We have paying customers here in the States, in Israel. I'm based in Israel, and I'd love to meet you all. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the opportunity also to present my own startup, Cytactic, on stage. As I told you earlier, you heard a little bit about cybersecurity problems, a little bit about the threats, and I want to share with you a little bit about how we are trying now at Cytactic as part of the Israeli ecosystem to solve the problem. What we created is the first crisis management and platform readiness for cybersecurity. So basically on our platform, you can open a full screen. So basically on our platform, what we did, we took the digital elements to understand the crisis, and we built on top the tools how to prepare and manage the crisis. So now a cyber crisis is no longer just ones and zeros, but you have like dashboards for the management. What is actually the threat? What are the risks I'm facing? What tests did I need to do? How should I respond to these threats? Another thing, all your tasks during the crisis, instead of having a crisis that you don't know many moving parts, what should be doing the legal, what should be doing the IT, you have it all orchestrated. Another thing, cyber crisis is something that you can actually map with data. There are attributes for this crisis. What is the attack? Who is the attacker? How they operate? And we all code it. All the decision-making processes, like how to assess the risk of a cyber crisis, what mitigation the data tells us would be most efficient, are now actually coded on a platform. And another thing, each organization, let's take Silverstone or other organization, can actually now customize their plans. So just by injecting data into the system gives them response plans and response planning which is customized for the organization. No longer general security, but something customized for you. And we've built on top all the expertise of cybersecurity, how our companies should respond, what they should do in terms of investigation, mitigation, how they should recover. Everything is coded and planned. And another thing, when a crisis occurs, no longer you need to think, okay, how should I resolve the crisis? With a simple mode, just by adding information to the system, very simple, in a Swift mode, you just add some information about what is the crisis that I'm having. For example, here it's a data leak that, for example, you said like my code was stolen, and I think it's an organized crime group that did so. And I believe that the data is compromised is like a technical data or a business data, as you indicated. Now for the incident you indicated, you have an engine that generates in a real-time response plan. So it's now data-informed system that in real time advise you what's the response mode for the attack that you're having. Another thing, during a crisis you have so many stakeholders. Think about it, security guys, forensic guys, intelligence, lawyers, PR specialists, all trying to coordinate during the crisis. So what we created is the first command and control, just as you have in the army when you have a real war. A cyber incident is something like a real war, so you have a command and control center for all stakeholders to collaborate and to communicate during the crisis in an efficient manner. So we integrate collaboration between all the stakeholders at a time of crisis, making sure that it's orchestrated the way that it should be done. Another thing, now managements have real dashboards. Management can actually be walked through what is the incident that we're having, what we as board of directors or as CEOs should do in addressing this crisis. You can communicate with your board, with your insurance companies. And when you have processes, let's assume you have a process as sophisticated as disclosure to the SEC or publicly traded companies. Most professionals are very scared. How should I perform the process? We took all these processes and coded them. So you have a hard-coded process. How should I walk through actually in the process that I need to do to make sure that I mitigate the damages of the crisis? Most of the damages are lawsuits, drop in price share, business damages that could be actually resolved. But let's assume that I even have a process as sophisticated as code review, as you're saying, analyzing the code. you can actually be walked through how to conduct it, how to use your tools or others to actually conduct this task. So it's becoming from a complex task to something that is really manageable. But now's the secret. During a cyber crisis, you have many decisions to take. Should I negotiate with a hacker? Should I pay ransomware? Should I talk to the press? Should I disclose it? Most companies don't know how to resolve these dilemmas. So what we created, for the first time powered by data and artificial intelligence, we created decision support tools for a time of crisis. So now management, when they need to be addressed with a question like, should I negotiate with a hacker? Should I disclose the incident? Are being informed by the collective expertise of crisis managers. And they have a dashboard how to manage this strategic decision and how as management to actually walk through a very complex crisis that can actually create a business interruption which is unnecessary. So for example, let's say that you have an attacker now, a hacker in your network, and you need to decide whether you're going to communicate with the attacker. Most companies, an example from Israel, hospital, Hillel Yaffe in Israel under attack, didn't know, should I communicate with the hacker, shouldn't I communicate? Now the system informs you based on data. And another thing which I think is very interesting, many companies have processes that they design on paper, but never coded them. And at the time of the crisis, no one goes to these paper playbooks and utilize them. What we enable every organization is to customize now the response plan and make them dynamically operational at the time of crisis. So now, when you are faced with a crisis, you don't have to improvise. You have a plan that you trained on. So what we created at Cytactic, based on the problem that I told you, it's the first time cyber crisis readiness and management platform that you can build your protocol, train your team, simulate a crisis, see how mature you are in addressing this crisis, and at the time of the crisis, if it happens, to manage it in a structured, efficient, and expert way rather than improvising. And by that, mitigating the impact of cyber crisis, which is an unnecessary damage for society if we know how to mitigate. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you, and thank you for my great panelists for the opportunity to talk to you on the stage. Thank you very much.